So, two videos in one day, because why not? I wanted to talk about INFJs because, I put MBTI in the description of my channel, but I barely have any videos of that, actually. So, yeah, go ahead and proceed with that more, hopefully, starting at this point. But, okay. INFJs and why they kind of suck. Now, here's the thing. I know they try to be like super understanding of like other people and they try to, see where everybody's coming from because, they always like to preach that like, oh, everybody has their own way. Look at it from his point of view. Look at it from her point of view. But I'm just like, at some point, it kind of gets annoying sometimes. I'm not going to cap because like, obviously it would be nice if we lived in a reality where everyone could simply like get their own way. And it's almost like this is the world they want to like achieve when that's simply not possible because so many people want like different things and whoever has the power to make like the show happen, so to speak, they're going to enforce like whatever they want. But then the ironic thing as well is that a lot of them are also super sensitive, let's say, if you like attack one of their like, cherished beliefs. So they kind of live this like nonsensical existence, like if you ask me, because it's like like what are you trying to do? And like okay, like back again to the whole like how they try to be like accommodating for like a lot of people and like stuff like that. But it's like, shit has to get done. Like if there's two positions, one of them has to be reasoned better than the other. Like obviously we can keep talking about how, oh, why somebody believes a certain way, but what if they were like conditioned to be this way because of this, blah blah. Like I know everybody can be psychoanalyzed. Like in a way, that's what we're doing. Like trying to learn about these like personality types and stuff. Like anyway, but it's like the like the real world does not have any time for it. So what exactly are we gonna do if we have to try to be so understanding of like two opposing forces? It can't be meshed together. You know, it seems like they believe that they can achieve like a harmonious way of like yin and yang for everybody when no, the human race is a piece of garbage and everybody wants their way in some form or another, even if that's other people's way. You can say, oh, they want it that way because oh, they're brainwashed or like manipulated, like whatever. Everybody's enforcing a specific sort of like agenda. And another thing that like I've realized is just how compared to a lot of people, a lot of the conversations you have with them are like super one-sided. But they create this like aura of being like welcoming. And I know they like they try to frame this like low-key like therapist psychiatrist sort of like vibe. And they're fine with people like trauma dumping like all over them. And because I guess a lot of people don't feel as heard as often and the INFJ doesn't really want to reveal like, too much about themselves, they let them go on and on and on. And then it deceptively creates this like illusion in that person's mind that like, oh wow, this person really gets me. When in actuality, like, okay, the INFJ may or may not have, but you jumped to that conclusion just because maybe for the first time you actually felt like you were, being like attended to. So a lot of INFJs, and they're not all bad people, I know, yeah, whatever, all that kind of stuff. But it's like they build this reputation that like low key I feel like is so unfounded and like unjustified or like whatever. And like I know I'm saying that from like my inferior FE sort of like position, so maybe this is just like again like my bias with like a lot of things that like deal with FE honestly because like I'm an INTP. But like okay, they create this like reputation where they're like extremely trustworthy and like they may or may not be, but it's like, oh, and when I need somebody to talk to, you're always there. What I mean, like, are they there? Because I know a lot of like INFJs want to understand like the psyche and like the human mind. Yeah, like a lot of people do, but it's just like do like I don't know, like it begs or like raises like certain questions in my mind where it's like, okay, if I start talking about myself to you, an INFJ, let's say, it's like are you genuinely interested in something, or are you trying to like, piggyback off like a lot of people so you can create this like portrait of like humanity where like, okay, you can have like the puppeteer hands where it's like, okay, I can navigate each and every single kind of person because it's like I'm trying to log personality database in my own mind. Or it's like, yeah, like, I feel like, yeah, like that's probably a lot of their conflict half the time. Like, when you go on like personality database and like obviously people are like arguing as to like who or like what somebody's like type is. I feel like that's probably like an INFJ's like sort of like brain, because they're doing their best. They're trying to see like, okay, well, why does somebody do this? Why does somebody do that? Or like, why do I do this? Why do I do that? It's like, they have like such an intimate relationship with like trying to understand like how people sort of just like work. And I guess like, okay, maybe it's just creepy in my eyes because I don't really understand being interested in people like that much. And it's like, okay, not all INFJs are fake. I'm not saying that like not like all INFJs are like out to get you or like something like that. But if I think of a type, and perhaps other types could be this way too, but it's like they're like, I would say they're like high up there, honestly, in terms of like, let's say, possibly manipulating you, or wearing like some sort of like mask to be somebody that they think you want them to be, just so your relationship with that person can like eloquently flow. Because like a lot of times I know how attentive INFJs are, so they're willing to listen to you, blah blah blah, like things like that. But it's like, okay, sometimes when you talk to one, or when I talk to one, I kind of just start to wonder. It's like, okay, I say this to you, and it's like, because you're like, oh, like front about like being so understanding, blah blah blah, like whatever, this and this and that. How do I know what you actually think about what I think? Because like, kind of like their whole like therapist, like psychiatrist vibe. I've realized that like what a lot of like INFJs do is that like they're skillfully like masters at giving responses that essentially kind of like what I've been saying, let you go on and on and on. Or they like they might be like, oh, you seem to care like a whole lot about this. Like they don't actually give actual input a lot of times when they're like meeting a lot of people. It's more like so you've held this belief for like quite some time or something, and then that gives the opening for the other person to just go on and on and on. So in a way, a lot of times you never know anything about them, but they know what to do for like as much as possible to try and like pull things out of you. And I guess it's just like, yeah, it makes me feel like so fucking queasy or some shit, because it's like, why are you trying to undress my feelings that much? Like especially as like an INTP with like, for example, like the like demon FI, like you're trying to undress a lot of like what you think you can understand about me personally, emotionally, and like stuff like that. And it's like, I don't even know how to do that for myself. So when I'm like confronted with that, and like I know that's like what you're doing, then I'm just like, okay, I'm a fucking narcissist. I can only offer you like my fucking like black hole. But it's like, I guess it makes me feel weird because like you can almost use me as a fucking like training rat or something like that. It's almost like, okay, you can just develop and enhance your like psychological skills in terms of like trying to understand people. Because like, okay, especially like as a narcissist, or a lot of people that are like cluster B, I feel like we would be the perfect target for that. Because like, when you play like a fighting game or some shit, and then like maybe you just want to like practice like combos or some shit, and like in some games you have like a certain option where like you can beat the character as much as you want, and even if they die, they just like come back right away because like, oh, it's like a free for all, whatever you want to do to that other character. And I'm just like, I would be the perfect candidate for that. So I'm just like, okay, wow, you want to swim in my fucking like black hole? You want to swim in like my fucking like emptiness or some shit? Is it exercise for you? Because like hypothetically, I can give you my best interpretation as to like how relationships are, how humanity connects together, blah blah blah, this and this and that. So like, yeah, it was perfect training for you, so that when you can go to all these like other people that have like, I don't know, let's say like non-cluster B, quote unquote, oh my gosh, well-established like identities and like all that shit, then like you're welcome. But I'm just like, yeah. So just some like food for thought right there from an INTP about INFJs. I don't hate INFJs. I don't hate INFJs, by the way. If anything, I hate everybody. So it's nothing specifically personal towards INFJs. At some point, maybe I'll make a video explaining like how, in a way, I don't like every single type. But like, okay, we're starting with INFJs here. So yeah, there you go.